Juggalos in recovery, man.
What is up, everybody? It is nice to see all of you here. If I have given you co-host privileges, if you go to leave the meeting, please don't end the meeting for everybody else. Just leave the call. If you are watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, anywhere live, you can click the link in the description and you can join us live. My name is D, and this is Sober Soldier Sundays. And the speaker I'm bringing in this week, I know personally, he is a juggalo. He is in my actual community here in South Florida. He is also a member of Drug Addicts Anonymous, and I have been watching this guy since he was in treatment until now. And I can tell you he has an interesting life story to tell you to give his experience strength and hope. But I can also tell you since entering sobriety that he has worked a 12-step program, started helping others, and has made it through some shit in his sobriety that a lot of people might have used over just recently. But he's here to share his story, his experience, his strength, and hope. And with that, I will give you the homie Lil Jake Malachi on your screen. The meeting's yours. If he, when he gets done sharing, if you want to just raise your hand, unmute your mic, take turns speaking, and be respectful, the meeting is yours. I'm just here being of service.
Whoop whoop, everybody. Everybody hear me all right? All right. Well, my name is Jacob. I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict. And my sobriety date is December 13th, 2023. I have a sponsor who knows he's my sponsor. And my story starts, my earliest memory has to be when I was 5 years old. I remember me and my older brother being sent to our bedrooms because our mom and dad were fighting. Turns out they was getting a divorce, so they sent us to a room so they wouldn't be fighting in front of us. And then my dad, he worked on the road. He built cell phone towers. So when he was off work, he was never home. He was constantly bar hopping, and so uh, I never really had a father figure in my life until my stepdad come into the picture. But my mom, she was working 70 plus hours a week to support me and my brother. So she reached out for help from my grandmother. And then, so my grandmother helped raise me and my brother. She instilled manners into us and made us go to church. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, we was there. And then I grew up Southern Baptist, and I'm originally from Tennessee. And um, let's see, I made straight A's in school up until fifth grade. That's when I got my first paddling, and so I started constantly. I just wasn't doing my homework, so my mom sent me to school with a note that said if I didn't do my homework, just to paddle me, and I didn't believe it, so I didn't do my homework, and I tested it, and yeah, I got a paddling. So, um, let's skip forward a little bit till I was 12 years old. My girlfriend at the time was having a birthday party, and everybody there was drinking and smoking weed. And I had my first beer, and I liked it. But my heavy drinking didn't start until way later. But I'll go ahead and fast forward till I was 15, and I was in summer school. And well, when I was 13, my mom and my stepdad, they moved to Middle Tennessee. I stayed in West Tennessee. So I guess that was my first crossroads, I guess. My mom figured I was old enough to make my own decision whether or not I wanted to move with her and my stepdad or stay with my dad. And I chose to stay with my dad. And because I didn't want to move somewhere new and have to make new friends and yada, yada, yada. But I still, to this day, kind of wonder what my life would be like if I would have chose to go with my mom. I mean, it could be better, it could be worse. I mean, who knows? But anyways, so when I was 15, my stepbrother, he was renting my mom and stepdad's old house. It was a party house all the time. That's when I first started. I would say start smoking weed, but I really didn't smoke it. I ate it. So uh, then for my 16th birthday, my brother gave me a dime bag and some Merlin papers, and I went to my dad's house and I hid it under my mattress. And then I got home from school and the door was locked. So I figured I would open up my bedroom window and crawl in the window. And then about the time I reached my window, I heard the door open and it was my dad. And the smell of weed hit me. And you know, I was young and dumb. Well, I'm still young and dumb, but so he said that he found my weed and that he called the cops and he turned it into them. Turns out he smoked it. So um so I was freaking out and he was, scolding me and everything and asked me where I got it from. So I told him. So he commenced to go over to my brother's house and scare the living shit out of everybody there, chased them off. And then he went into my brother's bedroom and he was in the corner with on the phone with our mom in one hand, and in his other hand he had a baseball bat. So my dad walked up, grabbed the baseball bat by the blunt end, and then popped him on top of the head with the handle, and blood just rushed everywhere. So he had to go get staples in his head. But anyways, I never really fit in anywhere. I mean, I first started listening to ICP when I was 12. One of my friends gave me a CD, and it was the Jekyll Brothers album. And I really didn't know what I was listening to at the time. And then, so until I was playing it one time at my grandma's house, who was a hardcore Christian. My dad happened to walk in and said, "Oh shit, ICP." He said, "You better not let your grandma hear you listen to that shit." So, uh, anyways, my dad came into my life when I was about 11 or 12, and then I mean, then he just kind of disappeared for like a year or so, and turns out he was in rehab. And then he got out of rehab, and then on Friday nights was an open meeting night at an AA meeting that my dad was going to. So I went with him to the open Friday night AA meeting just to be around him. So I kind of grew up going to AA. I really didn't know what it was at the time because I was pretty young. The only thing I really remember was it was a bunch of old men just bitching and complaining and crappy coffee. But and this one guy every time would ask my dad, "You got a sponsor yet? You got a sponsor yet?" And I didn't know. I had no idea what they were talking about. But that's where he met my stepmom, and then they got married like a year later, and then so I had three stepbrothers, and so my little family grew there, and then so uh when I failed seventh grade, so I had to repeat it. So I was supposed to graduate high school in 2009, but I wound up graduating in 2010, and I really didn't know what I was going to do after school. All these kids that I went to school with were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to this college, or I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that." So I was just walking by the cafeteria one day, and they had a little job fair, fucking college thing or whatever, a whole bunch of colleges set up in there. And I seen a man in a army uniform. So I was like, I'm gonna join the army. So I did. And then right after I graduated high school, I shipped out to basic training, and then I joined the National Guard. But I made it through basic training. It's 9 weeks long, and 7 out of the 9 weeks I was first platoon leader. And then I don't know if you could imagine a little 5 foot tall looking guy, a 5 foot tall guy just just running around yelling at a bunch of people. That was me. But so I went and completed, uh, I completed basic training, and then and did my AIT training, which was my MOS training, and then the whole time they was having trouble paying me. So I wasn't able to get it situated till I got back home. And then once I got it situated, I had close to $11,000. So I bought my first car. I paid the first 6 months insurance on it. I had the car for 4 days and totaled it. And the sad part about it was I wasn't the one driving. So I I really didn't know how to drive yet. I mean, whenever I went to take my driver's license test, they knew that I was joining the army, so they pretty much just gave me my license. So I didn't realize that everyone in the vehicle was just as fucked up as I was. We was riding around smoking that incense, that legal weed when it first come out, and we was hoofing air duster, and then we wound up having a wreck, and it totaled my car. Excuse me. So then me and a kid that I went to school with, we was hanging out in his car one night, smoking a blunt and drinking a 40, and we got to talking about cocaine. So, and in my hometown, I lived in the ghetto of my hometown. It was called Two Foot. And then I still had pretty close to, well, a little over half of that 11 grand left. And then we started talking about cocaine. I was like, I've always wanted to try it. And he was like, all right, well, I can go get some. I was like, all right, let's go to the ATM. So I pulled $100 bill out. We went and got some, and I liked it. So the first two or three times he was getting me cocaine, and then one of the I grew up going to two churches, and then one of the churches that I later grew up going to, uh, it was me, the same guy that was getting me the stuff, and then another one of my buddies, and I was sitting in the back seat of the car, and we was sitting in the parking lot of that church, and he went and got me some powder, and he asked if they could get some, and I was like, yeah, sure. So they got some out, and then handed me the bag, and then put it on some foil. I was like, I didn't know you could you could smoke cocaine. And they was like, yeah, and then they were sitting there smoking it and everything, and then dude got out to take a piss, and then that's when my buddy looked back at me. He said, you know, he's been getting you meth, right? And I was like, oh shit, I do now. But so that's how my meth addiction started. And then so I wound up the same dude that got it was getting it for me. It was his idea. He said that I had the money to supply the means to shake and bake. So started doing that, and it backfired on me. And I won't really go into detail about that. It's pretty bad, but I'm alive and well, so that was a God moment right there. So um, when I was either 20, turning 21, or I had just turned 21. But anyways, my drinking habit started out like I would just like, you know, I guess just like anybody else, like hard days work, you get off work, you stop by a gas station, get you some beer, and drink you a cold beer after work. That's how it started. But I wound up there was this guy I was hanging out with, and I thought he was my friend. Turns out he wasn't. He drugged and he raped me. So I remember bits and pieces of it, and the bits and pieces that I did remember, I did not want to remember. So I commenced to drowning myself in alcohol. So that went from 21 all the way up until 28. As soon as my eyes opened, I would pop the top on a beer and I would drink throughout the day. And I would either drink until I couldn't anymore and I passed out, or I ran out and wasn't able to go get any more until the next day. But all those drunk, although all that time being drunk, I mean, I pissed a lot of people off. I was I've always been a blackout drunk, especially on liquor. But yeah, I made a lot of people mad, and it's funny. It's kind of funny though, because there was at least two or three times where one of the people that I pissed off, like they wanted to beat my ass, but didn't because they thought that I was like 14 or 15 years old. So yeah, but I'm 32, believe it or not. but yeah, little 20-something-year-old dude. They thought that was like 14 or 15. So they thought if they beat my ass that they would wind up going to jail. But no, I mean I was of age, but they just didn't know it. But so I'll just go ahead and in 2016 they say that deaths come in threes. In 2016, I went to 4 funerals, and 2 of those funerals were both my grandfathers. It was my dad's dad and my dad's stepdad. But anyways, so that was a pretty rough year. And then in 2017, my grandmother, she was diagnosed with 4 types of cancer. And once uh, once my grandpa, his name was Ray. Once he passed away, my grandma said that she was either going to pick up drinking or she was going to start smoking again, and she chose to start smoking. So she'd be sitting there chain smoking cigarettes while hooked up to an oxygen tank, and then she kept complaining that she was having trouble breathing. She couldn't get a deep breath, and she thought it was her oxygen tank. So she would crank it up to the max, and it just wouldn't do anything. So, but it turns out she had a softball-sized tumor that was growing on her spine and attached to her lungs, and that was what was causing her breathing trouble. She had she had heart cancer, she had lung cancer, spinal cancer, and I can't remember what the fourth kind of cancer was. But she passed away in 2017, like a year after my grandpa passed away. And my dad, oh shit, hang on, accidentally locked the screen. But my dad, he held a grudge against her for pretty much all of his life. And she was on hospice at her house, and she was on her deathbed. And my dad almost missed his chance, but I mean, it was really sad and heartbreaking, but then again, it was heartwarming at the same time. But on her deathbed, he went up he went up and sat beside her and held her hand and said that he was sorry. And that was him, that I was witnessing him making amends to his mother before I even knew what amends were. The step 9. And I thought, that was, you know it was sad, but it was cool at the same time. But I mean, I thank God every day that I was raised by my grandparents, because there's no telling who I would be today if that wouldn't have happened. But like I said, she made me and my brother go to church, and so I've had a higher power instilled in my life since before I could even walk and talk. So um, let's see, when I was 28, that's when my meth addiction got real bad, and I I was depending on my dad for a ride back and forth to work, so he got sick and tired of taking me back and forth to work, which, I mean, likewise, I got sick and tired of having to depend on him for a ride back and forth to work. So he bought me a little old clunker car and put it in my name, and then long story short, I uh, I was away a few counties away trying to help one of my stepbrothers out, and my dad needed the car, so he called me. He cussed me out, so I cussed him back out. He said he was going to call the cops, and I said, "For what? The vehicle's in my name. What are you going to do? Report it stolen?" But whenever I finally got back to my dad's house, I parked the car a little bit of ways away so he couldn't get to it, but he wound up getting to it anyways. And then he anger kind of anger problem really runs bad in my dad's side of the family. I used to have a real bad anger problem, but I don't, not so much anymore. But because life's too short to be angry all the fucking time. But so I me and my dad got into it, and he wound up. There's these bay windows in my grandma's living room, and there's a shelf built into it right below the windows, and he pushed me into them, and the shelf hit my back right ribs and cracked two of them, and then he hit me on my in my left jaw, and it cracked my jaw in two places, and to this day it still pops in and out of place. So I uh, the day before that, my uncle I went with my uncle to a pawn shop. He was trying to get some guitar strings, and I seen this pistol, and it took two different kinds of ammunition. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was gonna buy it just for the hell of it, you know. But then after that little incident happened with my dad, I was gonna go get that pistol, and I was going to do something to my dad that I was gonna regret. But I decided to let it go, and my uncle got in touch with my mom, who still lived in Middle Tennessee, and told her, you know, let her know what was going on with me and everything, and asked if I could, you know, possibly move there. And then I did. I had to stay with my mom and stepdad for 3 months, but within that 3 months, I had a car. I was renting a 2 bedroom trailer. I had a good, easy paying job, and um, I moved there to get away from the drugs. In my mind, I was doing good because I wasn't on meth anymore. I was still drinking and smoking weed, but I wasn't doing dope anymore. So in my mind, I thought I was doing pretty good. And then so I got bored and I got complacent, and I was so used to being surrounded in chaos all the time that it just felt weird to me. So uh, something happened, and my dad's dog died, and so that was my excuse to get fucking shit faced drunk. So I was sitting in my car in my driveway at 3 o'clock in the morning, blasting twisted, and my my new neighbor, he came over, and he kind of, you know, cussed at me a little bit and told me to turn that shit down, that people are trying to sleep. I was like, oh, my bad, dude, I'm going through some shit. So then I turned my music off and I went inside and passed out. And then the next day, um, he caught me while I was outside, and he come over to apologize about the night before. I said, oh man, it's cool, shit happens. And then turns out me and him got a little close, and then turns out he did meth. So after 6 months of being clean off of it, it felt right back in my lap, and I started doing it again. And then if I couldn't find any there, then I would drive 2 hours all the way to my dad's house to go get some. And at one point in time, I stayed at my dad's for a week. So I was a no call, no show at work for a week straight. And finally, I got my shit together and headed back home. And then I called work, and the assistant manager picked up, and I said, hey, do I still have a job? She was like, as far as I know, you do. I was like, holy shit. So uh, I wound up losing that job because of my addiction and my alcoholism. But it was I was working at a Arby's. I worked there for like 2 years, and I work at Arby's today. But it's a smaller Arby's in a different geographical location. But so uh then once I lost my job, I was having trouble finding a job, and even if I found a job, I was having trouble keeping a job because of my addiction. So, and it really didn't sink in until I got that eviction notice. So, best of a bad situation, I decided to move back in with my dad, which in hindsight, it really wasn't the best situation I could have made. But uh um let's see. So back whenever I moved from West Tennessee to East Tennessee, that I got to thinking about what happened between me and my dad, and I just got to thinking, if I don't go and talk to him and go and tell him I forgive him and everything, that it would just be a repeat of him and my grandmother, us holding a grudge against each other, and I didn't want that to happen. So I decided to drop in on him randomly one day, and we hugged each other. And he said he apologized and said it wouldn't happen again, but that was a lie. It did wind up happening again. So I was we were we was staying at in my hometown. It's called Meth Mountain or Junkie Hill, but so um, I was out all night, and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning when I finally got home. And then I went in my bedroom and I locked the door. And then I heard my dad start moving around outside. And then I heard my doorknob jiggle. And then boom, he kicked the door open. And then he started yelling and screaming and cussing at me and everything. And then I was just trying to, hurry up and get dressed so I could get the hell out of there. And then about the time I stood up from putting my shoes on, he pushed me back down in my bed and he got nose to nose with me and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "I will fucking kill you." And I didn't take too kindly to staying under the same roof as somebody that said that they was going to fucking kill me. So I left. And I was homeless for like 2 months. And one of those 2 months, I did not shower. I was starving. I was sleeping in an abandoned house, and it was pretty bad. And then it was around this time where I met my significant other, Amy, and it was um she she's been through a lot, and she's been through a lot of abusive relationships. And I mean, I'm not trying to brag on myself or anything, but I'm the first guy that she's been with that actually, knows how to treat her right. And so we've been together um going on a year and a half now. But we was both real bad deep in addiction though. And then we was uh we was both homeless there for a little while. We was couch surfing. And then our our landlord, out of the kindness of his heart, let us stay in one of his apartments, and we had to work for him for the rent. And then uh, it got to the point where if I didn't have any dope to wake up to, I wasn't getting out of bed all day. So therefore, I wasn't working. So she would work all the time, and she would beg me to just get out of bed and go to work, and I wouldn't fucking do it. So um, eventually, the landlord, he quit working us all together. So she resorted to boosting. She would go in stores and take stuff and then sell it to people for half the price, and that's how we fed our addiction and our alcoholism, and that's how we ate. And I never once told her to go do it. I never asked her or anything. If anything, I told her not to do it. We would find another way. But she did it, and then she wound up getting caught, and then did about a week or so in jail, and bonded out because she was in college, and she got a grant from the college, and she used that to get herself out of jail. And then she wound up going and doing the same thing again and getting caught again. So then they uh, the DA talked to the lawyer, talked to the judge, and got it to where she would serve a week in jail and have to show 6 months of long-term treatment on paper. And so she started getting in touch with detoxes, and she's been down here to Florida before with her ex-husband, but she wound up um, almost completing. She damn near completed the program, and then her ex-husband wound up getting kicked out of the program, so she followed him. And then so she decided to come back down here and give it a try again. So then when it came time for her to leave and come down here to Florida, she asked me what was I going to do. And I told her, "Don't worry about me. Everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be okay. I'll figure something out." But really, in the back of my mind, what I wanted to say but wasn't going to tell her I did wind up eventually telling her, but I told her that but what I planned on doing was because if we was staying at one of her family members' houses, and I already knew that after she left, I wouldn't be welcome there. I wouldn't be able to stay there, so I've been homeless with four dogs that I wasn't able to feed or take care of. So after she left, I planned on finding homes for all four of the dogs, and then throwing myself off the Tennessee River Bridge. I was going to kill myself. So um, at a at the last possible moment, I decided to change my mind, and I decided to come down here with her to Florida to seek help, to seek treatment. So it was the best decision I ever made. So we got down here to Florida uh, back in mid September of last year, and my original sobriety date was September 18th, but I wound up relapsing back in December 2nd, and I realized what my mistakes were. I made it 74 days clean, and of all things, I relapsed on air duster. So I don't know. I guess I mean I was afraid of success. I mean I really didn't know what success looked like, and I got bored, and I knew that the my time at Foundations was about to come to an end, and I didn't have a job yet, and or any kind of sober living or anything set up yet. So I guess I figured that instead of waiting for shit to hit the fan, I would throw the shit at the fan myself. So I relapsed on air duster, and I did not call my sponsor. I did not reach out to anybody until after the fact that I had already used. So uh, then I was sitting on this bench on Port St. No, it was on Prima Vista, yeah. And then I was sitting there hitting air duster and everything, and I was like, "Fuck!" Guilt got the best of me, so I called my girl and I told her, what happened, and then she told me. She said, "Take your ass home." So I started walking home, and then I got a little bit of ways down the road, and then she called me back and said, "Where are you at?" I said, I told her where I was at. She's like, "Well, turn back around. I'm coming your way." I knew it was on then. So she could have stayed at Foundations, but chose to relapse with me and go with me. And then, so we went out. She was still in college at this point. She got like a $3,000 grant, and that's what we was living off of. We was renting hotel room after hotel room, and we went out on a little 3 day run, and then we tried going back to detox again, and we tried going back to the very first detox that we went to when we got here to Florida, which is Serenity House, but it's closed down now. But so we she was sneaking out her window, going next door to this restaurant, and she would get a beer and then bring it back on the detox property, and we would sit there and drink it. And then she tried doing it again the night after that, and she got caught. She got pissed that she got caught, so she wanted to leave. I could have stayed there at Serenity House. They was begging me to stay. Said, "Don't go with her. Don't go with her." So I said, "I got to go with her." So I left. So we just kept taking each other out. So we got back to the hotel room again, and we went out on another week long run or so. And then I got to thinking, ever since we've been here in Florida, there's been countless of people that's been telling me, y'all need to do different treatment programs. Y'all need to work on yourselves. Y'all don't need to be at the same facility. And I really didn't understand what that meant until later on. And then we were sitting in the hotel room, and all the drugs were gone. We was pretty much broke. We couldn't afford another night at the hotel. So I told her, I said, we should do different treatment programs. And at first she wasn't going for it because she thought that I was just trying to get rid of her. which wasn't the case at all. I just really wanted what was best for the both of us. So I went to Archstone Detox down in Lantana, and I completed the program. And then she was bouncing from detox to detox, and yeah, it's pretty sad. I mean, I just hope and pray that she'll get it eventually. But and then Foundations decided to take me back. So, and I'm glad that they decided to take me back. And it was a lot different the second go around because I was by myself and I was able to focus on myself. Uh, the Before I relapsed, December 2nd, I got to my fourth step, and uh, so then I let my sponsor know that I relapsed. And then once I got back to Foundations, I contacted him, and he said, "All right, we ain't fucking around this time. We're going to get you through your steps within 30 days." He got me through my steps within 44 days. And I mean, once I got past the seventh step, something just clicked in me. I mean, everything just feels so different. I mean, I just, I mean, I don't have everything that I want, but I have everything that I need. And nothing would have been none of this would have been possible without my higher power. I mean, what works for me is I every morning before I start my day, I make my bed, I hit my knees and I pray. And then I go on about my day. And then every night before I go to bed, I read a chapter out of the Bible, I read a chapter out of the big book, and I read a chapter out of the NA book. And then I pray, then I go to bed. And like I said, I work at Arby's and I have a bike, and I need to find a job that's closer to where I live because every morning I pedal my bike 6 miles to work and 6 miles back every day. But that's called dedication. I got to make the money. I mean, I got to do something. Got to do what I got to do. So, I mean, uh, everything is just so good. I have a roof over my head. I have food. I have a job. I have accountability. Uh, the AA promises are slowly but surely coming true. And my goal this year is to get my license back as they've been suspended. But as far as I know, it just costs $205. Uh, but I mean, it will come. It will come. It's going to happen. But yeah, I just keep faith in my higher power, and I help others when I can, when I'm able to. Uh, and you know, life can only get better from here. You know, there's been a few things that have happened that, like Dee said, that most people would have used over. Like last month, my oldest stepbrother and his 4-year-old son drowned while they was fishing, and my brother texted me that and told me that, and it just, I don't know. I was like, what the fuck, I mean, I really just I couldn't believe it. And then um and then my girl, she had a little slip and she's in a detox right now. So uh she was in the hospital for like a day or so, and that was kind of a eye opener, like just you know like just helps me to remember, like if I ever want to stop by that Family Dollar and get me a can of air duster, or stop by the gas station and get me a bottle of liquor. I mean, that could have been me, you know, or it could have been worse. Just I just try to keep my chin up and just do what is do take the suggestions, do what is suggested of me, and my life has been better for it. And um, with that, that's all I got.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff, Jake. Proud of you. Thanks for sharing. You shared definitely some stuff that most people might not have shared in this type of meeting with people watching all over the place. I know that takes a lot of courage, and I just gonna be the first to say I'm super proud of you. I've been watching you since you're coming to my home group on the detox buggy, and it's just good to have a friend like you in my life and seeing you succeeding and winning at this recovery shit. You and Panda both alike, man. Y'all both make me super proud to know as people in my immediate circle, and fuck everybody in this room, even if I don't see you face to face, we're all overcoming our problems with ourselves and our addiction and growing and changing as people and persevering through this recovery shit. And with that, it's y'all's meeting. You can raise your hand, unmute your mic, take turns. Meeting's yours. Go ahead, Mage.
Uh, what I was gonna say is I really resonate with a lot of that. I'm sorry I missed a little bit of the end of it because I was helping out with my uncle. I've been here helping out. Uh, but especially, bro, like I was raised in the Southern Baptist Convention too, down here in Jacksonville, Florida, biggest church in the convention. Uh, my great grandma was a little Sunday school teacher in that, and she's probably responsible for most of the good in me. uh, but also a lot of conflict with other stuff. And I just wanted to like that really stood out to me. Like I know what that's like having that overbearing like Southern Baptist stuff over you, man, as a kid.
You Baptists and you Catholics are something else, I'll tell you that. I'm glad I wasn't raised in that kind of stuff, that's for
Oh,
sure.
bro, the Southern Baptists ain't got nothing like when they gave me to the fundamental independent Baptists, and that's when things got crazy.
Yeah,
You
I can
know,
definitely say going from Catholic to Southern Baptist was so, yeah, both were really just not bueno.
yeah, I'm glad I didn't have that. Anthony's brother, Brian, nice to see you. I feel like I ain't seen you in forever. Go ahead, man.
Oh, I'm new. So you probably haven't
You're
seen
you're
me
not
forever.
you're not Scarecrow's brother?
No, dog.
But y'all got the same last name and you both got the long hair. And I know his
Yeah,
brother has
I
long
can,
hair
I
like
can.
you.
I
Oh,
can
well, welcome to Juggalos in Recovery. Go ahead.
Thanks, homie. Yeah, man. You know, piggybacking off what Mage said, you said that you had, that Baptist upbringing and everything. Was that kind of what helped you find your higher power, or was that a different process? Did you kind of go back to the Baptist thing, or was it something else that kind of helped you draw to that?
Really, it was. I mean, I got to a certain age. My younger teen years, I got to the point to where, if I didn't want to go to church, then I shouldn't have to. So I quit going to church. But I still to this day. I mean, I would like to start going to church again, but I mean, all I do is read the Bible and pray. That's all I do really. I mean, I, I think really, is church is really just like a publicity kind of thing. But like, you shouldn't have to, go to church to, to praise God.
I
That's just me.
mean, church is two people together talking about God, and your higher power is different than anything else. I mean, my mom was is Christian, but she wasn't like a church going every Sunday Christian. So I had that, but I had an atheist dad, so I um had some sort of belief when I was young, and then I went full atheist to being put on my knees by a higher power to find out that he spared me from a lot of things that I was facing, which was 15 years to a life sentence. You know what I mean? Which was relieving me of drug addiction and doing that. So like I work Drug Addicts Anonymous, which we use the 12 steps, the big book of AA, and it tells you in the big book of AA you have to completely smash your conception of what God is, right? And I know for me, every time I think I know God, I become God. I start playing God. I then turn into my own God, and I usually go back to the same shit I always do. Bridget, do you have your hand raised? You can go ahead. And Mage.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope. Something you mentioned that I'm sure resonates with all of us is not feeling like you fit anywhere. That's how my addiction started and everything. And now that I look back, before I even picked up a drug or drinking or anything like that, it was definitely food. Like anything that made me feel better about myself or just feel better at all was something I was addicted to. And you talk about all the different ways that you tried to fit in. You fit in with different people. You tried to join the army, and just you still didn't feel like you fit. And I know that feeling. And you've been through some shit that is very, very hard to stay clean and sober through. I myself have been through the past year. I lost my husband to addiction. I had my daughter taken for a year. I finally just got her back 3 weeks ago. I had to fight the system even after he died. My husband was abusive, and I ended up on a ventilator, almost dead. I woke up 14 days later, but I realized that the addiction is what took me there. My people pleasing with him took me there, and I wanted to thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with everybody.
Thanks for sharing, Bridget. That's a lot of stuff, and I'm sure everyone in the room, including me, can agree that not feeling like you fit in anywhere, even like with the Juggalo homies, like I felt like family, but I still drank and drugged like no other. You know what I mean? To the point where they didn't even want. A lot of them did not want to fuck with me. Period. You know, and that's just what they talk about, not being comfortable in your own skin. I was just lost. I'm wired different. I tried to fit in all over the place. Yeah, I could be friends. I could be social. I could be cool. But when I'm in my addiction, which is anything that makes me feel better, whether it's scratch offs, girls, gambling, drugs, alcohol, violence, it doesn't matter. If it made me feel good, I'm going to do more of it until it harms me. And then I quit doing those things that harm me. You know, it's crazy. Mage, go ahead.
Well, what I raised my hand for quick was what you said. Like, church is just two people, man. Anytime God is brought up in the midst of two people, that is a church. That being said, like, I don't really go to church or anything either, but I do read my Bible and stuff, like you said you do. Uh, Brian has my, or Bryant has my information. If you want to get hold of him, maybe me and you can set up a Bible study together or something. Like, I'd be down for that. You know, that would encourage me to get back into my Bible more than I do, because a lot of times I'll just set it to the side and won't pay attention to it unless I need something from God, you know.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ty Boogie. I've been waiting. I was going to call on you if you didn't raise your hand because I know you always come in with some fire. This is the OG from Juggalos and Recovery.
That's funny. Hey, good evening, everybody. Ty, an alcoholic. Thank you for your service, D. And Jake, thank you for your honesty, man. A lot of that really hit home. You've been through a lot, and the way that you've been able to still keep recovery in like your path and in your sights is just like it's encouraging, man. I feel like I've been through some difficult things myself, and like I've just battled the demons. I'm 35, and I've been battling the demons of addiction for seems like forever, and it's just nice. It's always nice to come to a place and like and see that, and see the community, and that's, I mean, it's a running joke that I've become the guy from Fight Club because I just go to different types of meetings, no matter what the meeting is and stuff like that. I'll just go to the meeting because there's like a bunch of people sitting around talking about issues, and it's just, it's inspiring, and it's just there is a reason that we fight the good fight, and it's just, you know, um, to survive. Even though we're not just surviving these days, we're prospering because like we fought so hard to survive, and it's beautiful to see that. And I grew up. I wasn't like very like I grew up with a Christian background. It wasn't really forced on me or whatever. Like when I decided not like it wasn't forced, you know. And but my girlfriend is really religious, and I've been trying to get back into the church thing, and like now that I have a connection with a higher power and everything, it resonates with me differently, you know, than it did when I was growing up, you know. And I can find something. I think, you know, working the 12 steps and being a part of a program that like has me keeping me spiritually connected has helped me be able to find those little things. I can find anything in anybody's share at any time in any meeting, no matter what it is, and like I can do that when I step into the world of religion, even though I may not necessarily agree with it. I can still find something in there for myself, and that's beautiful, and it's a great thing, and I'm grateful for it. So good to be here. Good to hear everybody's shares, and good to see like so many faces in here, and just to see what this program, Juggalos in Recovery, has become in the last couple of years is just beautiful, and I love it. And it's good to be here. It's good to start the week off Sunday night with this. Thank you all.
Yeah, I'm glad. I love when I see you popping in, Ty. I remember when I was like, "Yo, where are the Google Meet or the Zoom meetings?" And they weren't going on anymore from old ass posts. And you and Chris cranked them back up, and then I joined the fold. And man, we're gonna keep growing and blossoming. That's what we're doing, you know. And this is the whole point of the Sunday meetings and hearing some stories. We're the soldiers on the front line for addiction. You know what I mean? We're fighting that fight, you know. And then, like the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, even if you never read it, it says we stand on the firing line. It's people like us that share our story, our message, and try to see the positive and what we can relate to in each other, whether it's just the mental, the emotional, not the circumstances that led us, those feelings we all go through. That's how we connect, and that's how we, relate so we can help other people. But I'm going to end the live streams, and that way anybody that doesn't want to share on live can share. But the meeting's still going on. So if you're watching anywhere live, you can click the link to join us. And until next Sunday, yo.
Shit, I'll go since nobody else wants to.
Go ahead. The streams are ending right now. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for your experience, hope, and strength. I caught the last half of it. I've been so exhausted today. I have 4 kids, so I really do resonate with, just using anything to like numb the pain. I can definitely say I was one of those that could use dust off or drink mouthwash or half a bottle of whiskey, just anything. And I'm really proud of you that you can overcome the obstacles that get in your way, and like no matter how far ahead you look, you always see a goal line and you manage to surpass that. So thank you for sharing tonight.
Thank you.
Streams are done, so if there's anybody that didn't want to be recorded or talk while we're live, we are done with all that. Oh, except for in here. So let me end it in here too. My bad. Just kidding.